Did you hear from your dad? She said on the phone, unpacking a postcard, happy 22. We shared a coupe, leading me to the lake, and heard to someone called Amanda. Haven't heard from him for a while now. And lately, after watching after a song, my date was asking if I'm doing fine. So I told him it's not exactly back to the phone. It's just the places I have never been. I'll see you soon, he said, towards the train, and I wonder if my visual muscles betrayed me. I should have sent it to some friends. And they were like, oh, look at you, so shamelessly glowing. So I told them, guys, it's not exactly better. See the glow, but honestly, it's just my daydream. So, what I felt was someone spelled a dam in my tear ducts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Artists Anonymous meetup. Thank you for coming, and thank you, Rusina, for this music. Well, before we start, let me give a brief intro. First of all, please put a plus if you hear me well, for me to be sure that you hear me and everything is working well. Please put a plus in the chat. Okay, I see everything is okay. So now let me introduce myself. My name is Marina Glebowska, and I will be your host today. Before we dive deeper into the talk which Rusina has prepared for us, I'm sure that every one of you is connected with music. So let's share in the chat what music instrument you play. So for us to see what kind of orchestra are we having. So please drop into the chat what. Okay, guitar. Thank you, Grigol. Okay. Guitar, piano, acoustic guitar. A piano, keyboard. Okay. Wow, so many pianist, singer, colleague of Rusina, violin. Thank you. I am also learning how to play guitar. Thank you for that. That's great that we are having such a great orchestra here. So let's go on, and I will share some info with you. Let me share my screen. One moment, please. Okay. So here we go. Today, this meetup is brought by Artist Unanimous. Artist Unanimous is a brand new global international community for the artists of different kinds of art. So, this is a non-profit initiative. We arrange offline and online events and inspire creators to create, to share, to inspire each other, and to preserve their legacy. So, to stay tuned with us and to know more about our events, so you are very welcome to join our social media, and my colleagues will drop the links to our channels, Instagram and Telegram channels to the chat. So if you are not there, it's high time to join. Let me give a very brief explanation what will be going today. So for 30 or 40 minutes, Rusina will share her experience, how she shifted from day job as a marketer to her artistic life. And after that, we will have 15 minutes to share the questions. And if she doesn't have time to answer all of the questions, then we will answer them later and share in the channels. And just to start, let me tell you about our very easy, basic rules for today. First of all, it would be great if you switch on your camera because it's always great to see the friendly faces. And for you to feel comfortable, our team has prepared beautiful backgrounds like mine. So my colleagues will drop the link to the chat. So please download, upload to the Zoom and enjoy not only today, but they will stay with you forever. Please stay muted. I'm sure that you know this embarrassing feeling when you rush into the Zoom call with the dog barking. So let's take care of yourself. Use chat to share your thoughts and reactions. And if you want to ask the question, so please use the letter Q at the beginning of your question for our moderators to be easier to sort out jokes, thoughts from their questions. Be respectful and supportive, please. So I'm sure that this is evident thing. You probably heard the recording notice. So we are recording this meeting and we will share it on YouTube and our channels. And I have two colleagues which are here to help us with technical issues, Maria and Olga. So please raise your hands or write into the chat if you have any issues. So please address them. This is it for now. And I'm inviting Rusina to jump in.
Great, I'm jumping in. Hello, everyone. Really nice to see you. Some of you, or some pictures of you for those who don't have camera on. I will just share my screen in a second, and I will also tell you that I also have a slight chance of having this embarrassing moment of my dog barking, since my dog is quite anxious. But for now, he's sleeping, so hopefully he will let me talk. But if he barks, just don't be afraid. I will fix him in a couple of seconds. Right. I'll probably go and share my desktop and hopefully won't share my anything rather than my slides. Do you see my slides? Can you nod me if you do? Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Yeah, as Marina told me, my talk will probably take like 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll have some space to talk and, you know, be in more of a interactive genre rather than me talking. first and foremost, I really want to say a huge thank you for inviting me to hold this meetup. For me, it's quite preparing it was quite an interesting experience, since I haven't properly reflected on my experience of like day job to music to day job. Well, all this sort of crazy path I've traveled. And that was such a great occasion to think of that. And also, I really, really enjoy talking with other artists. So please don't be shy asking questions later on. I would really love to meet you. Right, so let's start from here. Let me probably, interesting. Yeah, great, it works. I will probably start with just introducing myself. I'm not a celebrity, so probably some of you, most of you who don't know me from like previous life don't know me at all. My name is Rusina. I was born and raised in Moscow. And as many Russian kids, I started attending music school being like early school time, 9 years old or something. I started doing singing. And on the left photo, you see me. It's year 2003. So I'm probably 12 here. So it's not even my first grade of my musical school. It's rather like second or third. I'm quite shy, as you can tell from my posture. I was so afraid to perform. I was performing some Beatles song on this photo, I think. So yeah, still gives me ick looking at that. And on the second photo, I'm much more confident and like, just like dancing around, having a gig of my own. I think it was like maybe 6-7 years ago in Vologden, great Russian city of Vologden. As many, I was led into what's called serious profession. So I finished my music school and finished my regular school. And I was not doing my first degree in music, since my parents thought that it's lame and I wouldn't ever be paid. So I was led like into serious, so-called serious profession. I got my first degree as a political scientist in Higher School of Economics in Moscow. And I must admit that was quite cool. It was a very interesting period in Russia. It was a very interesting period of history of Higher School of Economics. So genuinely, as a first education, it was quite eye-opening and really formed my values. And I'm really grateful for that, like kind of turning back and thinking of that. But even though I got my first degree in so-called serious profession, not really connected with music, I just couldn't really stop making music. And as many Russian kids, I was quite traumatized by my music school experience. I was singing, so no, scary piano lessons with like very strict teachers. But my music school was sort of, how there are like this voice kids programs and shows. It was something like that. So we were not learning how to sing and use our voice. Like we were doing that, but it was not the main thing. The main thing was the show. And I was not really great at shows, and I didn't enjoy showing part of that. I really enjoyed like music and singing as a practice. So when I finished my music school, I thought, no, I'm not going back to it. I will maybe sing for myself, but just like, no. I was quite traumatized with this and just didn't really want to come back. But then grade 1, grade 2 of my university, I just realized that I really want to continue and I really want to try write some music of my own. So I've started attending college. It was called Moscow College of Improvised Music. And I was attending vocal classes and piano classes and music theory classes, combining it with my first degree and combining it with my first jobs. Honestly, I want to have this level of energy ever again in my life. But back then I was capable of that. I really wanted to do music. So back then I started practicing. I started writing my own stuff slowly and, being very shy. But when I wrote my first song, it was a feeling like like you just created something of your own poetry and your own music, and you're capable of that. So I would never forget it. It was just but it still was a very hard career to maintain. So I built a career in strategic communications and educational technology. I worked for NGOs and I worked for corporations. I worked for what's called Учитель для России, Teach for All, Teach for Russia. It was a big NGO in Russia back then. Then I moved to Yandex, to its educational department. And I didn't want that. I mean, I didn't, worked to have it. But at some point, I realized that I became a good professional, and I'm really on demand. And that was the moment when I realized that I really want to stop, take a gap year, and just plan a gap year, and to spend this gap year continuing with my music studies and with doing music and like being concentrated on music only. I was quite frustrated that I can't be concentrated on music. I was like for years and years combining all this different sorts of studies and then work and then work and work and work. So I was really tired, really burned out, and I decided that I really want to take a gap year, and I started planning it. Since I was a strategic communications specialist, I was really good at planning. So I had like this whole plan of what am I doing and where do I want to get my music education and why there and how I want to spend this year. And long story short, I wanted to do it in the United Kingdom, not because I had any sort of king to United Kingdom, but because back then there was, and actually not back then, for now it exists as well. There is this big scholarship program called Chevening. And Chevening, if you win the competition for Chevening, it kind of give you it gives you funds to do your master's degree in the United Kingdom. It can be music degree, arts degree, it can be medical degree, it can be, I don't know, chemistry degree, any degree you want. But you need to win the competition, and competition is mostly about like your leadership skills and your community building abilities, because Chevening wants people to, go to the United Kingdom and learn things and then go back to their communities and influence their communities with the knowledge they gained in the UK. And a couple of my friends already did Chevening programs. So I was really inspired to get that. And I started preparing my application. It was autumn 2021. I still remember that I was very anxious about my application. It was like, days and days of writing these essays. The essays are very short. It's only 500 words, and you need to write 4 of them, and you need to explain the committee you don't see why they should pay for your education. And it's a big amount of money. It's not only your degree, which is quite expensive in the UK, it's also like your tickets, your living expenses. So it's a lot. And so I submitted and I waited for a reply, and I got my reply February 2022. I made it, basically I made it to the second level of the competition. I was so excited. But as I mentioned, it was the year of 2022. So I got my letter where they invited me to it is the interview, the second stage of it is interview. So my interview was scheduled for April. So I started planning like some things around this interview, my language exam, and my gradual going out from Yandex, where I was working at the moment, and like the way I want to leave my team without me for a year and things like that. But in February, everything has changed, and Chevening was thinking for a while. And then I got my letter from them, I guess it was end of March, beginning of April. They freezed all the Russian applicants of this year. So basically, they didn't say no or yes. They just said, we're not holding the second stage of the competition at all for Russian students this year. It was like my nightmare in the beginning of everything, because, it was my main tactic. I didn't have a backup. I didn't have any other plan. But back then, everyone was so stressed, and I had to decide what I do with my life. And anyways, like it was an add-on to all the stresses we had. But at this point, I already applied for a couple of universities, one in Scotland and one in London. And in June, I started getting replies from the universities. It's a separate process from getting the scholarship. And the universities basically said, oh, your portfolio is great. You want to have an offer, you want to have a call with us. And I decided like, maybe I will have a call with them. I definitely don't have such money to pay for my education, but I want to have a call with them anyways. So I had a call, and my first call was with Jo Collins Scott, who, spoiler alert, then became my professor. She was from Scotland and is from Scotland. She lives in Scotland. She's a great artist, and a great songwriter. And most and foremost, she was so warm and supportive with me during our conversation. So when the conversation ended, I decided, you know what, I need to do it now. I mean, I need to agree, and I need to find this money, and I need to go, because, life is short, and I'm not sure that in a year I will be able to do such a big step again. So I had this, very strong feeling of urgency. And I decided, like, okay, maybe I don't have this money, but I need to figure out, maybe I can somehow gain this money. And it was like I had no idea how to do that. But around me, there were people who were, and still are, inspiring me in, combining their day jobs, or even sponsoring their music stuff with their day jobs. And I want to introduce you some of these people. This is my partner. His name is Jose. He's a composer. Now he's finishing his master's degree here in Germany, where we live. And Jose is from Philippines. And Jose is a diving instructor. So he teaches people how to dive in the ocean, see the fishes, see the turtles. So that's his main day job. And he was saving money for years to afford coming here to Germany and competing here for master's education in composition. And like, he really, really inspires me. And his story of, saving money for years to get this education was really a big thing to me, because I did it quicker. I was lucky enough to do it quicker, to do it quicker. But later on that, this is my friend Sasha, with whom we do a very interesting collaborative project of expeditions and learning how different communities, singing communities, function. Sasha is a music therapist, and she also is a psychologist. She works with kids, and this is her main day job. And Sasha regularly goes and take lessons or studies with teachers she finds important and like worth of it. So Sasha does it for years, and I know Sasha for years, so her example was very inspiring to me too. This is my friend Oti. I met her in Scotland. Oti is a teacher. She teaches vocals and she teaches piano. And this is, by the way, probably the most, popular decision to make, to teach, to have some students and to gain some money from that, and to put this money into your creative stuff. Oti is great. She's from Finland originally. So long story short, I made it to the UK. I started like to do that. I just took, I don't know, 6, 7 projects, which I consulted with my marketing and product marketing expertise, which I gained in Yandex. So my case was, as I said, quite privileged and quite lucky, since I had sort of a name in like Russian marketing scene. So having projects was not a challenge. Maintaining 6 projects at one period of time was a challenge. But I was lucky enough to gain all these jobs and to be able to do that and to be able to save money quickly. And when I say quickly, I mean that in the beginning of 2023, I already was in Scotland. So it took me like maybe 7 months of working. So I did my degree. I did my degree in Scotland, and I don't want to go very deep into that, but I do really want to talk about like pros and cons of having a UK music degree, because I, before going there, was having a lot of, romanticizing images of what it is to learn music in the United Kingdom, the homeland of so many great bands and like musicians I love. So this is my quick reflection. Pros. Having a UK music degree really does sound cool, and it makes an impression. That's it. Kidding. No, that's not it. But I must admit that, like, if you are a pianist, or if your first degree is in conservatoire and you're like, hardcore player, maybe doing masters is like professionally necessary for you. When you are a songwriter, it's not professionally necessary. You do it for different reasons. The reason number one is that you get to know the industry and you get to understand how modern music industry functions with all its flaws and cruelties and like money and Spotify and fundings. So I, after my degree, can say that I have this image of how does it work and does it really work for me? You make friends, which is a great thing. And for me, it was probably the most important thing when I was preparing myself to have a degree. I really wanted to be in a community of people who do the same thing, who write music, who struggle with that, who, want to collaborate. And doing it in the frame of university, in the frame of institution, obviously means that you work with people a lot and you exchange things that you find important. So you make friends, and that's wonderful. Degree means that you have a deadline, so you practice a lot. You write a lot. You don't have time to, sit and think and wait for inspiration. My final work, like my master's project, was like a cycle of songs I had to write. So it's really good in terms of, project management. It's a great thing to manage yourself. It really helps, I must admit, with imposter syndrome, since like when you are doing music at master's level, even on bachelor's level. I don't have bachelor's level music, so I can't really relate to that. But bachelor's is like 4 years. It's even more. When you have a degree, you feel, I guess, at least for me, I feel more confident. So imposter syndrome really doesn't bother me anymore. Um, the greatest thing is mentorship. If you are lucky, as I was lucky, you will have a mentor, a professor who will supervise you and give you a lot of material to think about and a lot of good advice and a lot of just, listening sessions where you will be discussing music you find important and interesting. And that's a great thing to have a mentor. It's just probably the most important thing to me when we talk about education. And last but not least, the UK music scene is just stunning. For me, as a listener, it was just an incredible experience to be able to listen to the bands I knew from, my teenage years live. And it informs you a lot. It gives you a lot of information. It helps you understand how people behave when they are in stage circumstances. What material do they bring to you? Do you really enjoy artists you love listening to on your Spotify when they are performing live? And it's not the obvious question. So yeah, that was just great. To the cons, the list will be shorter, but significant. First con is having a UK music degree is extremely expensive. It's just ridiculously expensive for a person who don't have, years and years of savings and just financial stability. My degree cost me, just the education cost me 14,500 pounds for a year. And it's not at all the highest price for education in the UK. If you're having an education in England rather than in Scotland, it will be way more expensive and the cost of living is much higher. So it's just very expensive. If you want to have my advice, consider European music degrees, many of which are free. But I was on my path, so I just, I didn't know any other languages rather than English. So I was like, whatever, I just go and have it in the UK and I will work to that. But, reflecting on that, I never spent that much money on anything at all. And it's just a lot. When you are a new person in a new country, and it's not only your degree, but also your immigration, earning network is a struggle. You are a no name and you don't have roots, you don't have, classmates, You don't have your previous coworkers to introduce you to people. So it is a struggle. Even finding a creative job is a struggle. I applied for many, like I applied for probably 30, 40, part-time, easy creative jobs, and I never got one since I just don't have network and name there, which was sad and, frustrating. And the last one is you need to be really sure that your degree is informative enough. For me, some courses at my university were just lame, like not interesting, or I read some stuff beforehand and I didn't have, to have a proper course on the specific topic. And on the other hand, some of the things which I really wanted to know were not presented, or I didn't have enough time with them. So yeah, there is, especially when you pay so much money, and some courses just do not meet your expectations. It's frustrating. Here I want to jump into the aftermath of my degree and how do I perceive myself professionally now. And to talk about that, I want to, address 4 questions you see on the screen right now. First will be, how do I earn in the end of the day? Since, I mentioned that getting a creative job was a struggle, even though I tried very hard. Second question would be the topics and like, what do I say? What is interesting for me in music today and how it shifted from when I was younger. Third question will be about community and who am I playing with and how do I perceive it at the moment. And the fourth question will be the question of success and how my perception of success shifted also. So I want to start with earning, since, it was the topic of our conversation today. And I think it's probably the most, hard and difficult and challenging topic when you are an artist and you're trying to maintain your practice throughout years. And this question is, how do you earn? When I just got to United Kingdom, I had this, kind of pink color dream that I just won't go back to my marketing profession. I would rather do some stuff in the creative sector of the United Kingdom. I don't know, administrate some courses at the university, or I will just help with some programs and like building, sets and concerts in some venue or whatever. And in Scotland, they have this website. It's called Creative Scotland, and it has like the part of it which called Creative Scotland Opportunities. And there are a lot of jobs, like a lot of different jobs. And I applied for so many of them, and I just never got even into interview. Not saying that I was accepted, but just like even to the interview, I was never ever invited. So this pink collar dream was challenged throughout my studies. And at the same time, I started to investigate how does the industry functions in terms of, just money made from the things you write, because there are some sort of, system there. Like there are royalties, there are this like Spotify royalties calculations, and there are also money which you get from, your music being played on radio and money that you get from music being played somewhere else. So long story short, the reality is quite depressing. Many people talk now about like how cruel Spotify is. And you see there is this wonderful lady, her name is Kat Bernatz, and her essay on artists' earnings really helped me at some point. It's called Your Favorite Artist is Broke. And she gave a lot of numbers of like how many streams you should have to, have minimum wage salaries. And you see the numbers on the screen. It's like you have to have like 1 million streams to get $2,300 US dollars, which is in New York, where she's based, like basic minimum wage. You can, rent a room and feed yourself, and maybe invest some tiny bit of it to your art. 1 million streams for a track monthly. Like if you don't make it, if you make it this month and you don't make it next month, that means that you just get less money. So it's very cruel. And the reality of it was very depressing to me. But at some point, I just realized that I've seen it. I've seen it differently from the way I see it now. I saw it like, oh, I have this marketing profession, it's so boring, or it's so, not creative, or it's so not about me. And especially inside the immigration circumstances, I started to see differently, and I started to see like, oh, I have a day job and I can actually earn money, and I can free my art from this burden of, having to give me money, which actually frees, or at least for me, it freed some of my creative spirit. So long story short, I got back to my day job. I'm very happy with that. And for now, when I do art, I do it without this burden of, I write this song and now it has to earn me. No, I just write a song because it's fun. There are other ways of funding, and there is a short story I want to tell you about that. We as artists, we constantly apply for different opportunities. We apply for residencies, we apply for grants, for fundings, for research if we are working in the frame of academia. And at some point, me and my friend Sasha, we applied for a very significant grant, which was proposed by the US government, or rather US Ministry of Cultural Affairs. It was, and it actually still is, open for Russian citizens, which for us was quite a surprise. But as we are taking every opportunity we have, obviously we saw this amount of money, and the amount of funding was like 35,000 US dollar. It's a lot. You don't get this amount of money, daily for your artistic endeavors. So we applied, and to our mutual surprise, we got it. We applied with a project which researches Russian singing communities, and we started our research. But this story is called Yes, But. So there is a but. We won this grant back in 2024. Last year, we got our money, not the whole amount of this money. They kind of split it to transfers. And we got probably, I don't remember how much, and I don't think it's even significant. We got a part of it, and we started doing the project, and everything was going just great. And we were feeling, so lucky and so supported, because, it's both for me and Sasha, it was such a rare occasion to actually receive yes and receive the money to support the things which we find important. But the year of 2024 finished, and there was a factor we didn't think about, and this factor is changing the administration of the United States. So this winter, we got suspended with our grant, and we were told to stop all our activities. And this is the factor you can't really control, right? Like you can't do anything about it. And like so many different projects and so many different programs were closed because of just, the administrative decisions of the new administration of the United States. So we were just like around many people, many cultural initiatives who are shut down because the policies have changed. But let's talk about something more, things which are existing on the more of a sunny side. And here I want to talk about community and how precious community is. And for me, the fact that I'm invited here and we're gathered here by a new community of artists, it's a very important, a very promising thing, because so many communities just, get shut down or just don't last. And for me, having people with whom we can talk about things we find important and with whom we can make art is amazing. Here, I really want to drop kudos to the community of American residency One Beat. One Beat does not exist anymore, as many other cultural programs of the United States. But when it existed, and it existed for 15 years, and I was lucky enough to get to this residency, they had like two different versions. They had the version of offline, kind of going to states and staying with different artists, and online version, which you can see on the screen. Many people from many different parts of the world, from Brazil, from India, from Russia, from Ukraine, from Malaysia, from Philippines, from whom do I see on screen? From Africa, yeah, from South Africa. Just like incredible amount and incredible quality of people with whom we get to know each other through this program. And for me, I must admit, this community is still so powerful and so supportive, even though, you know, I had my UK songwriting degree and I had my course mates and my friends I gained there, but just like the amount of people from very different parts of the world with whom we share the same values and with whom we sometimes still collaborate on tracks is just amazing. I'm so, so grateful that I had this experience. And for me, that's probably the main piece of advice I can give you. Please, please apply for residencies, apply for, you know, workshops, apply for places and opportunities when you can meet people and mingle with people and work with people, because this is just the best. And I want to finish up with the trembling question of success and how my perception of success in music has shifted throughout the years. I can't say that I was ever, you know, a girl who wanted to sing in front of stadiums, but I didn't always realize that I'm not the type of girl who can sing in front of stadiums. But I think that throughout the last years, for me, sincere, detailed feedback about the music I write and the music I share became even more important than, you know, the number of people who shared the preview or the stories or, you know, Spotify share my music and Instagram. Because when you are in music business, this is sort of your metric, like how many shares, how many, you know, listenings, how many streams, how many whatever. But I've got like my, you know, peak situations and I've got my less successful situations. And I must say that like the number of digital touches is not the thing that drives me. But when someone writes me personally and says like, oh, I've heard this song, or I've heard this, or I know I've read this piece of poetry you've written, and it really drives me and it really resonates with me. For me, it's just the best. I don't need this, you know, crazy amount of Instagram story shares. Just it just doesn't drive me. It's nice. I really love that, but it just doesn't drive me. There is a lot of calculations about the mathematics of touring. Touring is very expensive and touring is very draining. It's great, but it's draining in terms of your finances. And I must say that I enjoy intimate live shows much more. And, you know, when I saw you and when I saw that we have, I'm not sure how many people do we have now since, you know, I'm talking for a while, but when I saw that we have like, you know, 40, oh, I see, 35 people. I thought like, it's great because we will have an opportunity to talk. We will have an opportunity to exchange. And if it was like, you know, 500 people, we wouldn't have this opportunity. So I really enjoy situations like that when you can, you know, really get to know people. And for me as a listener, when I'm coming to gigs, where I'm able to talk to artists I love, that's the best. And I had many of such opportunities in the last couple of years, and I'm so, so grateful that they were present. As you can guess, I don't care at all about Spotify numbers. To post your music on Spotify, you need to pay to the distributors, and to maintain your music on Spotify or on any other platform, you need to pay to the distributor just for maintenance. I even stopped paying for maintenance because, you know, why? I mean, it's nice sometimes. It's a quick way to share your music. It's quicker rather than using SoundCloud or Bandcamp or whatever. but I'm not sure if it's worth it. I'm still thinking of that. What I really want to do is I really want to have nice physical releases. Vinyl is expensive. CDs are nice, but no one actually listens to CDs. So I'm slowly thinking about like cassettes. It's just such a beautiful object. I really wanted my stuff to be physical. I want to touch it. I want to share it. I want to give it. And for me, like real success would be like, a real printed um, party of my album or my tracks or whatever, my EPs. So I'm thinking of that. For me, that will be quite nice because it just, gives you back the feeling that you created something and now you can actually touch it. And the main thing to me overall, and I didn't realize that, straight away, since I was this, tense kid singing to the microphone, this like super tense posture, that music should bring fun. Making music is fun. Making music is just a great way of communication and of inviting people to communicate with you, and be invited into other people's communication. If music does not bring fun, does not bring meaningful connections, does not bring this feeling of, when you go back home and you just think to yourself, wow, I've just like, been writing or singing for a couple of hours and I'm just so energized and I'm just so happy. And this is so great. Even if no one will listen to it, I'm still enjoying it so much. If not having this feeling, I don't really get why making music. Because this is the main thing. It is just great. It's fun. It's very meaningful, but mostly it's just fun. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say today. To end this part of me talking, which I'm very excited to end, um, I really want you to take a look at this last slide of like this motivation quote from me, which is tell your story even if it is extremely awkward. Um, this addresses the topic, of inspiration and what do we talk about when we write songs, what do we talk about when we, try to say something to the audience. For me, the greatest listening experiences I have is when the artist talks with me about something which is not, too poetic and too, high ceiling, but just awkward, just regular, just basic, just day-to-day experience, because it's very close to, everyone's life. Uh, and to finish this up, I've started a playlist and I made it open and it's on Spotify since I'm still on Spotify. It's here. You can scan this QR code and it starts. I just added one song. And then this is the song from one of my favorite artists, David Byrne. I'm going to his gig next year. I'm very excited. Uh, David Byrne for me is like the poet of awkwardness, of, things which are so close to the body. And I really invite you to add the songs which inspire you and which talk to you personally, to your experiences, even if the experiences are super awkward. And I hope that having this playlist will help us exchange something significant about ourselves. This is it.
Thank you, Rusina.
I just stopped sharing.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have got 10 minutes left. Thank you. It was fascinating. We have a couple of questions, so please go to your tab with the questions and proceed.
Oh, great. All right. Question. You mentioned that you don't have a bachelor's degree in music. Does it mean that candidates with any background can be accepted to master's music if they have a sufficient portfolio? Yeah, that's true. Especially if you pay for this education. And I paid for my master's degree. Could have been, just singing and not releasing stuff at all. When I entered my UK degree, I had maybe 3 releases beforehand, and it was like such an extensive portfolio for my university. So yes, I mean, if you are a classically trained musician, you probably need, maybe not, you don't need a bachelor's degree, but you need something which will show the level of your competence. If you're doing a songwriting degree or pop music degree, you don't really need that. Most of the cases, you don't need that. Okay, second question. Can you recommend some venues or workshops or where to find residencies that can accept you? I noticed lots of scams recently got included by mistake in one as well. Maybe also advise how to know it's a real thing. Well, I would recommend One Beat, but One Beat doesn't exist anymore. But if you go to the Instagram and find an account which is called Found Sound or Found Sound Nation, this is a foundation which at some point created One Bit, and they share a lot of residencies and workshops and programs. And I also would recommend Googling or ChatGPTing such opportunities, because that was what I was doing when I was just like, discovering things. And also do subscribe on people of your, level of fame. I would say like subscribe on people who don't have, thousands and thousands of subscribers, but just, starting artists or artists of smaller scale, because they normally share a lot of things they are attending. So that was the way I knew about One Beat. Some of my friends told me like there is this residency. So that would be my, top of mind advice. Could you please recommend how to find communities for really amateur beginner musicians? This is it. This is this community. You're here. Congratulations. Artists Anonymous is a great community to be, and I know that community organizers have a lot of plans of how to mingle you and how to give you opportunities. And, I have so many musicians I know who would describe themselves as amateur, including myself. So I think, again, if we're not talking about like classically trained musicians, we all are some sort of amateur. Even like if we've written some songs or if we're performed for, for a while. For me in Scotland, a great practice was just going to open mics. I didn't even know that there was such a thing. But actually, in many places, in many cities, you can just go to some, venue, cafe, whatever, depending on what city are you in, and just check if they have open mic nights. It was stunning because people of such different, level of playing or singing would just come and share, and everyone would be, supported. So highly recommend checking this out. What helped you become less shy? Nothing. I'm still shy. You can tell I'm blushing while I'm talking. um, well, I mean, the practice of being at stage and just talking and, letting things happen. Like my dog is still sleeping. I'm quite lucky, but like he could bark or he could jump or something could happen while I was talking. And when we are in public circumstances, in public settings, it always happens. Like your mic can just, stop working or your computer just shut down or whatever. So I guess it's just the number of situations which you let yourself go through in order to practice this. And still like you still be nervous. Like I don't know many people who are not nervous in public settings. What advice do you have for someone trying to make a similar transition, but that is really at the starting point? Do not romanticize. That's my advice. As much as you can. I mean, sometimes it is necessary. For me, it was necessary to romanticize the whole idea of like going to the UK. And I must admit, it was romantic, especially considering the fact that I was living in Scotland. It was romantic, but if I was doing it again, first of all, I wouldn't rush. And second of all, I would really dig into opportunities I don't find that obvious, as for me was like, English speaking country and achieving and stuff. But the opportunities you don't find that obvious, but maybe, just maybe, these opportunities are more referenced by people you like. So I, for example, would think about European degree more rather than UK degree. It's just more accessible. So I would maybe spend a year learning German and just, going there. And even if you're not in Europe or you're not like, yeah, not in the UK, even in Russia, there are plenty of institutions which can give you such education. But just like for me, it was a struggle to, convince myself, not convince myself. For me, it was a struggle to see the reality of the thing I'm doing. So for me, the advice would be asking yourself, do you want this? What do you want from this transition? How you want this transition to be, and how it can be safer for you. Because the thing I did was not safe at all. Like I had my savings, I just got like completely, it completely vanished to my education, and I didn't have any plan B, but I did have my day job, which apparently, became my plan B. So it should be safer. Just don't just throw everything away and run and have a music experience, because when we do that, it's really easy to be disappointed. Could you share a bit more about the research for singing community that you've been doing with Sasha? What kind of communities and what exactly you're focusing on? Sounds very interesting. Oh, I will gladly do that. We will finish by the end of this year. Basically, what we're doing, we're going to different Russian communities in different regions, and we do research how people gather. Women specifically, we are very based, very very focused on women's research. How women gather and sing together. What do they sing? Does it connect? Does it connect to the folk tradition, or is it something else? And how do these communities function, and with what do this community help people? When were they established? Because like back in April, we were in Permsky Krai, region of Russia. And there we had like several interviews, and we had an interview with a collective of women. They're like babushki, they're like quite old, but they only started gathering at pandemic, since they were just, lonely. So we're trying to figure, what do people sing, why they sing this, and how do these communities function. And I will definitely share the results of it later on in the year, and I will make sure that it will be posted in Artisan Anonymous, since there is an interest to do that. Okay. I see we have a couple of minutes more. I'm comfortable to just do it 10 and answer all the questions which we have here. But if some questions will be left, I promise I will answer it later on. Maybe in Telegram community of Artisan Anonymous. Yeah, good with that. Okay. What is something in your journey that you have learned from and would advise others to do differently? I would think, I would say, just think of your day job. If you do have a day job, think of it not as a draining experience, but rather as a support you might have. That would probably be my main advice. And also, if you are like me and you are shy, try to pretend that you're not, and just reach out to people you like. I do it a lot. This is my favorite practice. I just, randomly text someone on Instagram and say, hey, I like your music, or like, I really love this album, or I really enjoyed this. And many cases I get some feedback. And this is just so supportive. So even if you are shy, just, pretend that you're not and reach out to people, talk to people. Every artist who are you thinking wouldn't ever collaborate with you might be very happy to hear your feedback. So that will be my main advice. I apologize for not being too familiar with your music. Please do not. My question is, which artist archetype feels closest to your heart and you identify with, and why? Could be a mix. Choices are the sage, the rebel, the romantic, the visionary, the nomad, or the alchemist. Wow. um, Artist archetype. Interesting. I think I just I want to say I'm the rebel, but that's not true. I think I'm the romantic. I think I'm romantic. I think that for me, for my writing, for my singing, um, just, romanticism as digging into experience of witnessing something and finding beauty in it is probably the main experience which drives me to sing and drives me to write and drives me to create something. Because, there's so much music in the world and you don't have to write music. You don't have to, write a track, write a song. You don't have to do that, but you might feel necessity to do so. And this necessity for me is born from the feeling of, oh my God, like this is so beautiful. It's the same as, sometimes we see something and we just like take our iPhone or any phone and just, want to picture it, want to fix it, want to, have it. So for me, writing music is something like that. It's just like the way to caption something. Um, could you perhaps explain a little bit more about your reasons, motivations, ambitions, and ultimately what factors made you decide to pursue a career in music? Has this always been a dream of yours? Yeah. I'm a very indecisive person struggling with decision making in general, so perhaps you have tips. Great question. Yeah, for me, it was, I just really wanted to I had this, image of me just stopping doing things apart from music and just, let myself write, let myself think, let myself completely reload my brain in a way to, let it just create things. It was a very romantic image again. But yeah, I had this image of a gap year for years and years. So it just was a question of when and how can I afford it. But to the decision-making thing, I think like I've decided to, stop, pause my career, and just do a complete gap year. Because I had this feeling of urgency. I had this feeling that like when I did it, I was 31, 32. And I was like, I mean, I mean, every year it's harder and harder to pause the life which you're having, especially if this life is comfortable. And mine was quite comfortable. I was living in Moscow, like I had a great rented, but kind of, which I was called mine, but it was not mine. It was rented, like rented flat, and it was like I loved it, and I had my job, and I was good at my job. It's very comfy. So to do something which is not that comfy, it requires some sort of, you know, um, courage. And this courage is harder and harder to find when you are comfortable and you're getting more and more comfortable. So for me, it was like, I can do it now, or maybe I won't just have this, courage to do that later on. So I just have to do it now. And honestly, at this point of my life, I don't think that I would be able to do that again, because that was, brave and it was very risky. So if you do have this feeling of like, well, the time is not, endless, and like we have this urgency of just trying things that we think might be enjoyable for us, just do that. Pretend that you're not scared. Um, what if I do not have any professional background but want to participate in creative projects? Can I apply? Also try to perform, but I go to this cursed cycle. I try to be active on social media, but I'm a no-name and no one cares. Oh, I feel this so much. I perform at concerts for more people to know about me, but no one cares because they haven't heard about me before, like social media, how to escape it. Oh man. Yeah, I feel that one very much. Honestly, in my university, I had this course of it was some of interesting courses. It was like about preparing your release. Like you have some music, you've written it, you've recorded it, and then you have to release it. And there was this full cycle of releasing, which is like, involves social media and reminding people that you have a release, pre-save my release, then, share my release, whatever. And I've done it once fully. I've done it before in Russia, but in Russia it was, different since it was like my network and people knew about me. But I've done it fully from scratch in the UK, and I've done it once and I never did it again. It was just so frustrating because when you are writing things, or when you're not writing, just performing things, like performing covers, you give so much of your vision and of your inspiration, of your voice, of your, vision to it. And then you have to sell it. It's just, it feels wrong. It feels odd to me. And I know like there are so many cool professionals on this, music conference who would say, yeah, you need to do that. This is like personal brand and stuff like that. But I've done it like a couple of times, and I must admit that for me, it was not fulfilling at all. So I started asking myself, like, what do I want to experience exactly? Do I want to experience like the number of people who are listening to my music in Spotify? Because if yes, then yes, it's worth it. Building the brand, thinking about your contents, recording 1,000 reels like from your song. But if not, for many people, it's such a draining experience to do that. And like to, cut to your song and create like reels from it. I mean, I know many people who are so good at it, and who's so popular on Instagram. It's just not my thing. And for me, it was at some point a very important, insight that it's not, this is not what I want to do with my music. I don't know, I would rather go and, say hello to my neighbors and just invite them to my house and play some music for them and get their feedback or their smiles or like their tears or just, their non-giving shit faces, but just like it will be more, live. So if you are concerned about the number of people who are listening to you and who are coming to your gigs, I mean, I guess, yes, kind of trying to find your voice in social media is a path. But if it's not the thing you're actually pursuing, I would think, what are you pursuing? And are there any ways to make it? Okay, next, I think what last couple of questions. Did you feel sometimes you are or was a problem in starting a new career, this new path? If yes, how did you deal with that? That there was a problem in starting a career, this new path. Oh, that I am a problem. Maybe I'm not getting the question quite well, but I will try to answer it anyways. I mean, if you're asking if I felt that I was a problem, I actually might admit that I didn't have such feeling. Um, I had a feeling like in the beginning of my artistic path when I was just having my first bands. I had like a couple of bands in Moscow before my immigration, and um, I had this feeling of, being a no name and sort of doing this weird genre, because when you start writing, like the things you write normally sound very, weird and not really fitting the expectations of indie music or pop music or whatever music. So you need to define yourself and you need to write all the releases. And it was hard. Not that I felt that I was a problem, but rather I felt that, do I really fit into this? And how can I fit? And what can I do? But the feeling of me being a problem is really, it's a feeling of someone who doesn't have someone to talk with. And for me, I was quite lucky to have, my first college music education, and then my second education, and then the residencies. Throughout all the residencies I applied and got refused, residencies I got accepted to, people with whom I could talk about these things, like, am I a problem, or am I doing this, right, or am I not? And someone asked me before, like, if I was shy or how did I deal with like being shy. I can't say I was shy, right? But I was like, I wasn't ever confident in my abilities as a musician, because I thought that, like, musicians are, they're so cool. They know like all the music theory in the world. So when they write music, they just write it so thoughtfully, so sophisticatedly. And um, so community really helped me with realizing that, like, I'm enough. It's all right. I don't need to, polish my skills constantly. I may if I want to, but it's not necessary to do music. It's not necessary to have this constant, developing of your skills. You just can sing. And this is actually like going back to the project I'm doing with Sasha in Russia, uh, about this, learning how people sing and how people gather. Most of the folk music, for example, like real folk music, not like Bob Dylan folk music, but like our ancestors' folk music, is like the music you do when you're, doing your stuff, doing your laundry, making food. You don't have to be an educated musician. You just sing because it's fun, or you play weird music instruments done from, branches of a tree because it's fun. And music back then was really supporting people in their, lives, like regular, super banal things. And it was not performative. It was just meant to be a part of your life. So yeah, I'm trying more and more to live in this, pattern of, I do music because this is just the part of my life, not because, I am entitled to perform in front of people. I am, but like, I will sing and I will perform even if I don't get the situations of like being invited to gigs or whatever. I can gather my own gig. I can invite people and just sing to them because, it's easy. Um, it was referred with the age. Okay.
Yeah, the
Ah,
question about the problem
see.
was about the age. Rusina, let's answer to one more question and then
Yeah,
we'll wrap up because we are running out of time. Thank you. We appreciate that you are still with us. Thank you. Rusina,
no
go on.
worries. Yeah. Um, Yeah, with age. All right. I see. I'm just trying to figure what questions didn't I ask. Becoming famous through social media is possible. I will keep it really short. I think becoming famous through social media is possible, but you need to work on social media more than you work on anything else in your life. And if it's your thing, cool. It's not mine, so I can't really talk on that. But of course, it is possible. Many people are famous on social media, and this is their main occupation. So it is, but you need to really work on your content, and you need to, I guess, really love it. Because if you don't, it just ugh. Um, if someone would like to become a global star, maybe in pop, you think it's 100% necessary to get involved with record labels or achieve it? Or you think after 30s, it is impossible to achieve it or less possible? Sometimes I feel the need to rush, but every person have their own life journey. Oh, I could tell you about so many stories if we just had time for that, about like people getting famous way after their 30s. Like probably the most, the easiest example for me is not from music. This actress, Olivia Colman, who played in The Crown. She played Queen Elizabeth, and she's like hyping. She's a great. Do you remember her young? Me, not. She was famous, like she became famous when she was like 40 plus. Uh, so I think this is a very, good period we're living in when the age is not such a thing as it was before. It's still a thing, but it's getting less and less of a thing. I think labels are not necessary at all. Labels do support you if you go to the labels, but you can do it without labels. Doing thing with a label is a deal. If you think this deal is worth it, like the label would give you ads and support and promo and a tour, sure, great, but labels are different also. So for some people, and some of my friends are working with labels because it's just easier for the labels to organize these things, and you get rid of this necessity of doing like thousands of contents in social media, and you just can relax and focus on what you do. But to be a global star, honestly, I think you have to have a lot of money. That will really have to be a global star. So you could put this money to your promotion, and you could put this money to hire people who are really professional and who really know their shit and who really know how to do trendy music. And also to, organize tours and not be spared of thinking of like earning. Then yes, you can be a global star, or you can be like among of people who are like 0.0001% who are just lucky enough to get famous, but it doesn't necessarily correlate with the level of talent or with the level of, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So I would say that age does not really correlate with that either. I would say that the number of resources you have does correlate with that. And if you are like me and you don't have much of resources, the chance of you being extra global pop star famous are quite tiny. And then it's just the question for you. If you still want to perceive it, you can do it, and you may be successful in that. Like there are instruments, it's not hopeless. If you don't really want to do it, then you should think and, answer yourself, what do you really want to do, and what kind of feedback do you really want to get from your music? That's me. I think I answered all of it, hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you, Rusina. Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for being a part of this. So many food for thought today. So let's me briefly wrap up our meeting. I hope you are walking away with ideas to test, rethink, and explore. We would kindly ask you to share your feedback in our very short feedback form, for you to share what went well, what would you like to change, maybe more answers or meetups from Rusina. So everything you would like to share, please type into the form. And let me once again remind you that the meetup was brought by Artist Unanimous, a brand new community for amateur musicians and artists of other arts. And stay tuned and join our social media, our Instagram and Telegram channel. My colleagues will drop them into the chat once again right now. So there you can find the links to the video we will post it there, and any other news and updates about our upcoming events. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Rusina, and have a great evening.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.